They were images that went around the world. On January the 8th, 2023, supporters of Brazil's far-right president, Jair Bolsonaro, ransacked Parliament, the Supreme Court and the presidential palace. It happened a week after the inauguration of Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, who defeated Bolsonaro in presidential elections the West said were free and fair. But Bolsonaro claimed the vote was rigged and has never accepted the results. Now, a new report released by Brazilian police claims that Bolsonaro plotted a coup to overturn the election results. He allegedly called a meeting with top military officials in December 2022 and then presented them with plans for a coup. He asked them to join him. But while the Navy agreed, the Army and Air Force declined, and so it never went ahead. The police report says that Bolsonaro actively participated in the creation of the coup plan, being directly involved in the drafting of documents and strategies to remain in power even after the electoral defeat. Police also claim that Bolsonaro had full knowledge of a plan to assassinate President-elect Lula and his running mate. Brazil's chief prosecutor must now decide whether to press charges against the former president and his alleged co-conspirators. Bolsonaro has denied any wrongdoing.
No one is going to stage a coup with a retired general and half a dozen officers. What they are saying is absurd. There has never been any talk of a coup from my side. The word coup has never been in my dictionary. Yet, since I took office in 2019, I have been accused of wanting to stage a coup.
Brazil's President Lula da Silva spoke publicly about the alleged coup and attempt on his life for the first time last week.
I'm someone who has a lot to be thankful for because I'm alive. The attempt to poison myself and the vice president didn't work out, and we are here. I'd like to say something important. You remember that when I was running in the elections, I said that one of my wishes was to bring Brazil back to normality, to democratic civility.
David Biller is the Brazil news director for the Associated Press news agency, and he's joining us now from Rio de Janeiro. Thanks so much for your time. Bolsonaro was formally accused last week. Now the federal police report into the coup plot has been unsealed. Can you tell us more about the claims?
Right, so this was a really important development. This document was sent by police to the Supreme Court. We didn't have access to it. Now we do. It's 884 pages long, and it details a litany of supposed crimes committed. But most crucially, it shows for the first time accusations that Bolsonaro himself actively participated in the supposed coup plot, planned and participated. Previously, it wasn't exactly clear how aware he was or what police were alleging that he knew. Now, in the documents, crucially, it shows him bringing a decree to a meeting with the three commanders of the different armed forces divisions and trying to get them to sign on to back this decree, which would have suspended the top electoral court and installed a sort of crisis committee to investigate the claims or supposed occurrences of electoral fraud and crimes that occurred during the campaign. He never did sign this decree, and police say the reason he did not was because particularly the Army's commander at the time did not back this plan and said he would not sign on to anything that stopped Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva's inauguration.
And can you tell us a bit more about the alleged plot to assassinate President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and his vice president?
Right, so it's worth clarifying that this coup plot had multiple prongs. This is a separate one, and it's smaller, at least in terms of the sort of number of people who were allegedly involved. It is it is 3 members of the special forces or retired members and a retired general, as well as a 5th person who's a federal police officer. They were accused separately of plotting to kill Lula and his vice president-elect, Geraldo Alckmin, and also either kill or kidnap Supreme Court Justice Alexandre de Moraes, who's overseeing a lot of these investigations now that are targeting Bolsonaro and has really been a target for Bolsonaro's ire as well as that of his supporters. They did not apparently take any steps to actually put into motion the assassination of Lula or Alckmin, but they were actively monitoring and following Supreme Court Justice G. Moraes. That's one thing that legal experts will debate about, is whether or not this plan was actually moving forward, or if it was sort of a wait and see. But certainly there were movements to at least go after G. Moraes.
It sounds pretty dramatic. I mean, what could the legal upshot for Bolsonaro and his alleged co-conspirators be? I mean, are they looking at some potentially serious jail time here?
It remains to be seen. First of all, the accusations have been sent to the prosecutor general. He will decide whether or not to file charges or not. He could file some of the charges that are included in the police's formal accusation. He could toss the investigation completely. So that's the first thing that we don't know. I've seen different analyses of these, but that Bolsonaro himself, he could be facing at least 11 years jail time, perhaps up to 15, or even more. It sort of depends. He himself and many of his co-conspirators or alleged co-conspirators are accused of violent elimination of the rule of law, staging a coup, and criminal organization. So it depends which of those three, or if all three of those are filed as charges, and how many of them stick. We just have to wait and see.
What role is President Lula da Silva playing here? I mean, is he letting justice take its course?
Totally. He is not involved or not even commenting on the investigation. He's standing by. And I think, he's obviously not saying this directly, but I think he knows very clearly that were he to be an outspoken cheerleader even of this investigation, it could give the impression that he were somehow putting his thumb on the scale, and that would undermine the entire process. So he's really keeping to himself with regards to this, and with regards to the investigation, and letting justice run its course. Of course, he's made comments about Bolsonaro. It's his rival. It's someone who he's butted heads with, to say the least, over the last few years. But he's not speaking about the investigation itself.
Bolsonaro never conceded his election loss. He's accused of staging a coup, as we've been saying, faces legal jeopardy, but he still wants to run again. The parallels, obviously, to Donald Trump in the US are striking. Is Bolsonaro hoping for a similar outcome, do you think?
Certainly, he and his allies were heartened by the U.S. election result, and expect or hope that the Trump administration could use its influence to try to help Bolsonaro's case. They see also as a model, or as an example, for the fact that don't count him out in that sense. But aside from all of these criminal investigations, it's worth noting that Bolsonaro has already been ruled ineligible until 2030 by the top electoral court. That happened earlier this year, as a result of a ruling that he abused his power, particularly when calling ambassadors to a government building to present his claims, his unfounded claims, that the electronic voting system was unreliable. So he's already been ruled ineligible until 2030. That means he cannot run in 2026. Obviously, they're hoping for some sort of reversal there, but this isn't the same as Trump, for example, where he had this cloud of criminal investigations hanging over him, and was elected before really they came to an end. Bolsonaro has already been ruled ineligible.
Right. David Biller from the Associated Press News Agency, thank you so much for those insights.